Hey everybody, it's Kevin from Hybrid Games, and I'm here with my guest.
The Caffeinated Owl.
Yes. And we're gonna have a little game chat, a little game discussion. Alright guys, so our topic of the day is a little bit blind to Brian, so I'm gonna give him a few questions, and we're gonna discuss something about a video game that's very near and dear to my heart, and I love this game, and that game is Castlevania on the Nintendo, and the series as well. What do you think about Castlevania? What comes to mind when you first hear the words Castlevania, specifically the NES one?
Hard.
Hard. Yes, it's a Nintendo hard game. Okay.
No, it's your...
Huh?
It's seriously one of the hardest games I've ever played in my life, and I haven't beat it yet.
Yeah, I haven't beat it yet either. Castlevania is actually one of my favorite game series. Castlevania 4 being my favorite game in that series, and there's a couple questions I'd like to discuss with you. One of them being the sub-weapons, specifically the sub-weapons from the original game. You know, you've got, correct me if I'm wrong, you've got the cross, you've got the holy water, you've got the knife,
You got the fire.
you've got the axe, and is there one I'm forgetting?
Yeah, the fire.
The fire?
Yeah, isn't there fire in that game?
Ghosts and Goblins, maybe?
Oh, shit.
But I think there's those. Let me go over it again. There's the holy water, which you throw and it makes fire on the ground. Maybe that's what you're thinking of. Then you've got the knife, which throws straight. You got the axe, which throws overhead. You've got the cross, which throws and comes back, which is arguably the best weapon in the game. Best sub-weapon. So, let's talk about these sub-weapons. The first one is boomerang, but isn't it more like a cross?
Yes, it is.
Now, is Simon Belmont, is he a Christian warrior? I know this is back in the medieval times. You know, he's throwing things at demons and monsters, so what do you think about the idea of throwing a cross at a monster? Is that like an exorcism? What do you think's going on there with Simon?
Well, to me, I think he's trying to throw the cross at the demons and pretty much have their soul come back to him and liberate them, because he is the Christian warrior.
That's very deep, Brian. That's very deep. Is that why the monsters burn up when you hit them?
Yes, it's like hitting them with holy water.
Let's move on to the holy water sub-weapon. The holy water is a weapon where, once again, you throw it on the ground and it makes a little bit of burning effect on the enemies for a few seconds, so any enemies that walk into it will then get killed or hurt during that portion where they walk into the flames and it's burning. So,
I love
holy
it,
water. What kind of water is considered holy? And where does that specifically come from? And how is that different than any other kind of water?
Well, holy water, according to The Exorcist, is holy. It's just regular water that was blessed by a priest. So is Simon Belmont a priest?
Well, that's kind of funny that you bring that up, because in Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, which is the sequel and also starring Simon, unlike the third one, which doesn't star Simon, you actually start out in a church, and there's a church at the very start of the game, and that's actually where you can go, not to save, but you can go there to restore your life. So maybe that does have something to do with the holy water, because the holy water is one of the first sub-weapons that you get in Simon's Quest. And that one you use a little bit differently. You use it to break blocks, and also to break blocks that would otherwise lead to secret areas. So for example, there's like shops you can go to, because it's more of an RPG, and you throw them to break the, like basically there's a shop and there's like a brick wall covering the shop. So you have to break open the shop to find the shopkeeper. Now is that shopkeeper, is he evil? Is he hiding something? What do you think about that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah. I think he just doesn't want business, and he's trying to close his shop.
Yeah, maybe that has something to do with the villagers turning into monsters at nighttime.
That sounds... That could be true, yeah.
It's a horrible night to have a curse, after all.
Yes, it is. Why can't you skip that?
The text that appears?
Yes.
I think it's due to the limitations of the NES. It has some time to transition to nighttime. This was one of the first games that ever like went from day to night. It's not like Ocarina of Time where it just gradually goes. It has some limitations. It's almost like switching from level to level, like how you have those hidden load screens in Metroid Prime. It's sort of like that, but on an NES level. Or
That's
you
true.
could say it's actually like part of the game's story somehow. Like somehow,
Ooh.
I don't know how that would incorporate it. What do you think about that?
Well, apparently, the amount of day and night cycles you go through actually affects the ending of the game, which I did not know.
Wow, so there's a speedrun element to it like Metroid?
Yes.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. I've never actually completed Simon's Quest, and I haven't made it too
Neither
far
have
in
I.
it, but I've done like the first 3 castles or whatever's.
I'm honestly probably not going to, and just as a heads up, I'm really tired during this video, so that's why I'm kind of chill.
It's okay, Brian.
And
Happens to everyone,
nervous.
especially Dracula's.
not to me. Do you think Dracula's the devil?
I think he's in cahoots with the devil.
Or the devil's cousin? Dracula.
I don't know if he's the devil's cousin. I think maybe it goes like, I don't know, because you know how Dracula, before you fight Dracula, in most of the games, the boss before him is Death or the Grim Reaper. Do you think
Yes.
maybe Dracula is in cahoots with the devil or Satan? Maybe he works for Satan somehow or is in league with him somehow. Like, Satan's probably more powerful than Dracula, but Dracula kind of works and kind of commands Death and the Grim Reaper. So, but then Death is like directly tied to Satan because he brings people to Satan when they die, kind of, right? It's all connected.
We should get a we should get a count on how many times you say Satan in this video.
Satan is waiting.
God, stop. No.
It's okay,
No,
it's okay, Brian.
No.
Oh,
You know, the weird thing is, in Castlevania, it's not really a cross, because a cross is like this. It's more like an X.
yeah, it's
So
more
is
like
it
an
like
X.
Mega Man?
Which also reminds me that in Castlevania 4, if you pause the game, and I'll show a video of this, if you pause the game right when Simon's whipping, when you have the chain whip upgrade, it looks like there's a cross at the very tip of his whip. But I could be wrong about that. I remember pausing that as a kid and being like, wow, that looks like a cross at the end. And that was one of the little signs of religious imagery in that game. A lot of it was actually taken out of the Super Famicom version. The stuff that was in the Super Famicom version was taken out for the US release, the North America release.
Interesting.
I could have sworn I just heard the Terminator theme. But, yeah. So let's go back to the other sub-weapons in Castlevania. The main ones. We already talked about the cross and the holy water. Let's talk about the knife. Some people call it a knife, some people call it a dagger. I've also seen it referred to in manuals as a sword, which I
Aren't
never
a knife
got.
and a dagger the same thing?
Well, it's a point of view on the weapon.
No.
Usually a knife is like cutlery, like in your silverware drawer. And a dagger is usually more like you're gonna go murder someone and stab in the back. But that's just the way I see it. It's just a little bit of a personal preference, I guess. I don't know if there's a real definition for either, but that's the way I've always seen it.
Alright, let me go ahead and educate you guys. So a knife's name is for the implement that can be used for cutting and or stabbing. The difference between a knife and a dagger is that from side on, daggers are always symmetrical and both are sharp, and both sharp edges always go down to a point. So it's pretty much the same thing.
So we'll have to compare the graphics of some of the games and later on decide if it actually is a knife or a dagger. Not that it's too important. It seems to do its job pretty well. It's a very fast-throwing weapon, especially if you have the 3 Roman numerals that you pick up to allow you to throw your sub-weapon more than once. So that's a pretty straightforward weapon. Do you think that has like some kind of silver or holy water effect in it? You know, like silver bullets kill a werewolf. And Simon Belmont fights some monsters, a lot of different kinds of monsters. Do you think that has some kind of special effect to it too, or is it just a plain old knife that he found in the castle?
I honestly think it's a silver dagger that a werewolf dropped because he didn't want to touch it.
Yeah, it's probably some kind of a silver knife because, of course, they didn't have guns in Simon Belmont's time. But actually, in later Castlevanias, where they take place in later years, like in chronologically, you can get some guns, and they do have silver bullet guns, I believe. Yeah, you can get a handgun, a Soma, in Castlevania Aria of Sorrow.
Interesting.
And that was for the Game Boy Advance. So let's check out the other weapon, which is the axe. Now the axe is one of the trickiest weapons to use in my opinion because he does a throwing overhead arc, and it's really tricky to use. But I remember as a kid, that was one of the. I used to think it was the strongest one because I used to think axes were like, well, they're heavier than swords and knives, so I thought it did more damage. But I'm not sure if that's really true. What do you think about that?
Well, honestly, I think if you throw an axe and it comes down on someone, it's going to do more damage than a stab from a knife.
Yeah. There's one boss that I can think of particularly in Castlevania 4, and that's the two-headed serpent or hydra. It's kind of like two dragon heads. Do you remember that fight?
Yeah, it's such an easy fight if you have the axe.
Yeah, with the axe, it's a really good choice for that because you can actually hit both heads.
Do you think the holy water has garlic in it?
That's an important question too. In Simon's Quest, there's actually an item that you pick up called garlic. I believe it's garlic. It's some kind of herb that you pick up and you use it as part of a quest. Not Simon's entire quest, but on his main quest, there's an item that you get. And it's separate from the holy water item, so I'm assuming it does not.
That sucks.
Now there's one last thing that I'd like to talk to you about Castlevania as a whole today, and that is the subject of wall meat. In the first Castlevania, there's one type of wall meat, and in Castlevania 4, there is smaller chicken drumsticks and bigger like turkey meals. I'm not sure if they're chicken or turkey, but the main question here is, where does the wall meat come from? How is it stored, and how is it safe for Simon Belmont to eat? Because of course it replenishes his health, which means that it's an important thing for him to restore some of his energy with. So how does the wall meat stay refrigerated, or does it stay sealed, or how is that not just rotting away like everything else is like dead zombies and skeletons and monsters?
Well, what I think Dracula does is he puts he makes like a hollow brick, and then he puts a bunch of ice in the brick and puts the meat in it, so that way when Simon comes along, the ice is melted, but the meat is still refrigerated and cool. That's why when you break away the brick, you see like little chunks. That's also the ice, maybe the water, and then the brick itself, and then you have the wall meat.
That's a very good point, Brian. I think that you are onto something. I really think you are, because if he puts, so you're saying he puts the wall meat specifically for storage. He actually preps it up and then puts it on the wall. So maybe Dracula, from time to time, goes around Castlevania on his own, like when Simon's not there, and maybe he snacks on stuff, and he doesn't just drink blood. Maybe he wants some meat every once in a while.
Maybe that's why he's pissed off at Simon Belmont, is because he steals all of his wall meat. Yeah,
I mean, like, even if you're a vampire, I mean, you just love blood. You need that blood. But, sometimes you want to try something new, some new meals. You have your eternity. You have the rest of time, pretty much, until Simon comes and attacks you, to try lots of different kinds of foods that you would otherwise not have a whole lifetime to be able to try everything out. Now, here's an important thing. That's another connection is, do you remember in the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition when they find Saruman's secret stash? And there's like food and chicken floating around after the Ents destroy Isengard. Do you remember that?
Yes, and all the pipeweed?
Yes, and the pipeweed. And now Saruman, he's had a secret stash. A secret stash of lots of stuff that he didn't tell anyone. He kept it secret from the orcs, hidden from the orcs. So it's kind of like how Dracula, he doesn't tell his monsters and minions about this thing. Now, if you think about it, Saruman was played by the actor Christopher Lee. And Christopher Lee was also Dracula in the Hammer Dracula film. So there's a connection there, and maybe, as some people think, Castlevania is definitely based on a lot of Dracula lore. It's based on some of the Universal stories, it's based on the Bram Stoker book, it's based on the Hammer films, and Castlevania 3 even has Alucard from Son of Dracula. So Christopher Lee is a really important tie-in to the Castlevania series. What do you think about that?
I really miss Christopher Lee, and I feel like he was a really good actor. I want to watch Dracula. And on the thing with Lord of the Rings, I know it's kind of off topic, but do you think Grima Wormtongue knew about his stash?
Grima Wormtongue, That's a really good question. Grima Wormtongue was he was manipulated by Saruman, but was he manipulated in the same way that King Theoden was?
No, he wasn't. I think Grima Wormtongue was just a coward and he all-around dick, and he just went with the person that had the most power, kind of like how Saruman went with the Sauron instead of, being a wizard in Asari. Or, wait, what? And Asari is a race from Mass Effect. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So Grima Wormtongue. Yeah, I think you're right on that. Yeah. Okay, cool. And now I don't have any other questions about Castlevania. There's not too much else that I'd like to talk to you about today. Do you have any questions for me about Castlevania or anything else that you'd like to say about the Castlevania series as a whole?
Of course. Do you remember? Of course. Do you remember when you first played Castlevania? Your experiences with the game?
Yes. Do you mean the first one specifically, or any Castlevania?
Yes. The first one. Let's go to the first. Actually, let's do it in order. The first one, second one, third one, and 4.
Okay. I played them out of order. I actually played the 4th one first as a kid, like really young, like 5 on the Super Nintendo. But if we get all the way to Castlevania 1, 2, and 3, the first time I played them was when I was probably 12 or 13, and I actually had a Castlevania fan site that I run on neopets.com. You can make your own little pages on Neopets. You could use HTML to add custom graphics and sprites. And I found a lot of information about Castlevania, but I only played Symphony of the Night, Castlevania 4, and the N64 ones. So I was really interested in the series and the lore, and then eventually I picked up a disc called Konami Classics Collection for the PC, which had Castlevania 1, 2, and 3, and Contra and Super C. So that's the first time I played those, was on PC on that collection, Konami Collection. So I mostly played Castlevania 1 and 3 because they felt more familiar, and Castlevania 2 I stayed away from mostly until I rebought it on the NES. But then Castlevania 4, once again, I played that as a kid, so that was my real entry point to the series.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of Castlevania until I saw the ABGN, and that's when I really this game looks interesting, but it looks really hard, so I want to play it. I've never beaten the game. I've always gotten to death. I remember getting to death and then not being able to beat him, and then I got mad and turned off the game, and haven't really played it since. Yeah,
it's a really great game. It's really classic. It's really iconic, and it's a great game to check out, even if you come back to it.
Yeah, it's really rewarding. Like, you know how games nowadays, it's like, oh, if you're stuck on it, just get an extra life, or get the invincibility cap from Super Mario 3D Land, or back then if you died, it was your fault, and if you don't beat it, that's too bad. You can't get through it.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right. Oh. But yeah, let's close this up. Castlevania, great series. Any other questions or comments that you'd like to throw in?
I should just play it more. I want to beat Castlevania 4. That's one of my first Castlevania game that I want to beat.
Yeah, you just got it today, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Mystery unboxing coming soon to an audience near you. And just like with Super Metroid, Super Metroid. I've always liked Metroid. I've always played, I played Metroid 1 when I was a kid. I couldn't get very far, but then Super Metroid is when I really got into the series and I beat it and I loved it. And it's like,
yeah. It's a great Metroid game. I think that's one of the. I like it more than the original Metroid, and that's a whole nother subject, so maybe we'll get to a Metroid topic later on. But let's wrap this up here. It's been a great discussion with you, Brian. I love answering these questions and talking about these questions with you, even if it's not a definitive answer. It's just something to think about, something theoretical, and something just to talk about. And that's pretty much my Halloween Gametober 3 special for Happy Beard Games. And I hope to see you all next year on Gametober, which will be Gametober 4. And continuing on Hybrid Games, we're going to do more discussions with my friend Brian, the Caffeinated Owl, and other gameplay videos, because we're doing a co-op series as well. So those videos will be coming up throughout November and December, and hopefully so on. Any other comments, Brian?
No. Oh, actually, yeah. So I just kind of wanted to throw out the reason why I haven't been making videos on my channel. You guys can check it out, but the reason why I haven't been making actual videos and just uploading PS4 videos is because I accidentally forgot my charging cable at Kevin's house. Or not charging cable, but the USB cable from my camera. So I have this really nice camera that I've been able to use. I just haven't been able to upload it, so I haven't been able to edit, and it's been really sucky. So when I get another cable, I'll be making reviews and, you know, doing stuff and actually having a YouTube channel. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Alright, and we'll be looking forward to that on Brian's channel. Okay guys, thanks for watching once again. Bye!
Thanks guys, bye!